It's still 6:29.
You're good.
We're good.
Oh, go ahead. Sure, I'll hold off a minute. All right. All right. We don't need to torture people. Remember the time sharing?
Yeah. Oh, I want to hear what that is. Is it loud noise? I gotta start. I'm so happy I was on Jeopardy.
Julie? Everybody ready? I'd like to call the Thursday, June 1st, Forest Lake Area School Board meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Member Clerk, please take roll call.
Sure. Member Rayline?
Here.
Member Corcoran? Here. Member Hagelin?
Here.
Member Peterson? Member Wakefield?
Here.
Member Christensen? Here. Member Tyson? All here.
All right, at this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Nays, ayes have it. Scheduled and unscheduled visitors?
Oh, yes. Yeah, so for our listening session, we had, what was it, 44 people came and spoke both about their professionals and our, the way we're proposing to have teachers manage playgrounds. And so we had concerns about loss of paraprofessionals leaving and the stress of that job. We had concerns about teacher supervision and about a single teacher with many students on the playground. Concerns about having time for grade level prep and how important that time was. That teachers were separated from their colleagues for most of the day and didn't have that time to interact. Inability to have subs on the playground duty, subs not wanting to do that, leading to difficulty in getting subs, teachers already burdened with kids having mental health issues and other issues. And the point was made that with the literacy standards and a number of the other responsibilities of the teachers, this is just one more thing that they have to worry about, and that kind of came up over and over, that this is just one more thing, and concerns that the teachers had no say in this, and concern about art needing to be more hands-on.
Anything on Rayfield? We will move on to student achievement. Student report, link leaders, Dr. Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'll introduce Molly Bonnet, Ms. Bonnet, the advisor, but our link crew, and I won't steal their thunder because I'm sure they'll explain this, but it is a critically important group that helps orientate our younger kids and provides older student mentorship for our younger students as they come in. The middle school equivalent program will be our web program, and I suspect some of you were web leaders as well during your time in the middle school. And with that, our advisor for Link, Ms. Bonnet.
Thank you for having us tonight. I co-advise the Link crew with Lexi Anfang and Kelly Frericks, Dean and English teacher at the high school. And I have 5 amazing Link leaders with me tonight who will introduce themselves in just a minute. I'm going to give you a quick overview and then we'll get to the far more interesting part of hearing from our student leaders. So just a quick overview, like Dr. Massey mentioned, what is Link Crew? It's all about providing a transition program, bringing and onboarding our 9th graders into the high school, creating a comfortable and welcoming environment for them on the basis that if they feel welcome and comfortable, then they can experience success and have a good experience for themselves. So this photo here is from orientation day with 3 9th graders on the left and 1 Link leader on the right. This year we had nearly 90 Link leaders, which was quite a large crew, and they provide not only that support and orientation on orientation day, the first day of school, but they also continue to help 9th graders throughout the year, once a month on a Monday during Ranger Connect, our advisory time, focusing on mentorship and that idea of what tools, what skills, what tips can they share with their 9th graders that will help them be more successful in high school. I always tell our Link leaders they have the secret recipe, they know the special sauce. It shouldn't be secret, they should share it as much as they can so that others can benefit from that knowledge. There we go, okay. So increasingly we know through various studies just that if our 9th graders are feeling secure and comfortable and have positive experiences when they first come into a high school, their chances for success ongoing in high school will be far greater. Here you can just see some of the activities and icebreakers that are used on that first orientation day. The main tenets of Link are that as Link leaders and mentors, they are trying to create safety for our 9th graders so they know that they're in a physical and emotionally safe place, that they have the information they need, but not only the information they need, that we're sharing it with them at the right time in the right way that makes sense for a 9th grader, and then just really striving to help them build connections between themselves as 9th graders, between their mentors, with their Link leaders, and then of course, they're beginning connections with their staff and teachers. So Link leaders don't just volunteer and show up, they actually go through quite a rigorous training program. This training program is internationally recognized. I have been Link advisor trained, and as such, they have a very specific curriculum that we follow to help ensure that our Link leaders are trained adequately and are prepared. And of course, it involves a lot of fun. We know that to help build those relationships and those connections and help our 9th graders feel secure, we can accomplish that through some fun to break down those barriers. So those are some of the trainings that they participate in. But they are also doing some serious work at the same time. Here they're doing some reflecting where they're perhaps developing their list for what every freshman should know. This is a list of advice based on what they should know for academics, some advice about parents, engaging with your parents through high school, engaging with teachers, and I will say that every year our Link leaders just put together really tremendous, thoughtful, insightful lists that are great for our 9th graders. The 9th grade experience, here we just have a few quotes. This might be too tiny, but from the perspective of 9th graders, one says, "My Link leaders helped me when they made sure that we all got warmed up to the new school nicely. They reassured us that we'd be okay in high school and make sure that we were having a good experience." You can maybe read some of those others, but basically, the 9th graders themselves acknowledge and appreciate that Link leaders are helping them through the process of adjusting to high school. So without further ado, we're going to welcome our first Link leader, Christian, on up. And you can just leave that there. You don't need to worry about slides.
All right, hello, my name is Christian Matheson. I'm a senior at the high school. As Dr. Steve Massey was saying, I was a web leader back at the middle school, and I loved that so much, helping out the 7th graders, that as soon as I found out that there was something called Link at high school, I wanted to be a part of that group. I was only in Link for my senior year, did not join it for junior year. My main goal coming into it was to make sure that I could make my 9th graders feel comfortable and welcomed at high school, because I do remember as a 9th grader, I was nervous and felt kind of out of place. So by being able to connect with them once a month and share my experiences, tell them what I went through, played fun games with them, I feel as though I was able to help them feel more comfortable and be themselves. At the start of the school year, they were quiet, shy, introverted, and now here at the end of the school year, I noticed drastic changes. They're louder, they're talking with their friends. When I walk down the hallway, I have a couple of my 9th grade Connect students saying hi to me. What's up and how you doing? So that did not happen at the start of the school year, but it's happened now. And as I graduate next week, I know that my 9th graders will be able to continue on with their high school path and be successful.
I'm Sophia Sanchez, and I'm a junior at the high school. And I was not a web leader in middle school, but when I saw my web leaders, I was like, this looks fun. And then I started asking my friends, like, you guys want to be web leaders or something? And they were like, maybe not. I was like, okay, I guess I'll just wait till high school, maybe opportunity will come up. And then I heard about Link Leader, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna do what my friends want to do now, so, and I think that's like part of the middle school mentality, I care so much about if I mess up, or like I'm so nervous for high school because I don't want people to see me lost or anything like that. So I was like, I think I want to become a Link leader, because on my first day, I was one of those 9th graders who just was like very nervous and cared a lot about other people's thoughts. And so my goal, like, as becoming a Link leader was to, like, make sure the 9th graders know that, like, it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to not know where your classes are and all this. And so I became a Link leader, and I was even nervous myself to first meet with my 9th graders, but as you start talking to them, they do not hold back on what they say sometimes. And so you get really comfortable with them. And throughout the year, they'll be like, oh, Sophia, you're coming to Ranger Connect today. I'm like, sorry guys, it's not Link Leader Day. And then they'll get like sad, they're like, oh, okay, then I won't even go to Ranger Connect. I'm like, no, still go to Ranger Connect even if the Link Leaders won't be there. And I also noticed on our orientation day that when we all were sitting on the bleachers and doing activities, the teachers would tell the 9th graders, like, okay guys, let's stop talking now, people are talking. And the 9th graders will just kind of ignore it, but once you're like, as a high schooler, not that much older, when you tell them, like, okay guys, we need to be quiet, they'll be quiet, because I don't know what it is. They just sometimes don't really like to listen to teachers, but when they have someone who's a little bit closer to them in age, and I don't know, I have younger siblings, and I feel that as an older sibling, you can influence your younger siblings a lot. And I'm not saying that my younger siblings mind Ranger Connect, but it feels like I hope they see what I'm doing and being like, Sophia made me feel welcomed, and I hope that I can make the future 9th graders feel the same way. And I definitely am excited to do it again next year, and hopefully can influence more and more 9th graders to help incoming high schoolers feel welcomed.
Hello, I am Annika Jensen. I'm a senior at the high school, and this is my first year in Link. I was also a part of the Link board, which was a group of with students, who helped plan the activities for the Ranger Connect groups. It was a new thing they started this year to try out for the first time, and that was really beneficial for me because I felt like I could advocate for my freshmen and what I felt like they really needed to hear and really needed to see from their Link leaders, and that was super great for me. My favorite part of being a Link leader was definitely getting to help out with their class registration. So the first time I really got to see them open up to me and ask me questions, they were super quiet before this, and then once I was like, hey, I can give you guys class recommendations. I've gone through this, I've had friends who've taken the class, I've heard about all these classes. They were more willing to ask me questions, and I really got to know them through kind of some of their interests, and they were really great at asking those questions, and it was I felt really proud of them at the moment that they were willing to step out of their comfort zone a little bit and ask about something so crucial, and they were planning stuff all the way up to their senior year of high school. They were asking me about classes I was taking right now, what requirements they needed, and how helping them manage and find their way through Costello was really just super meaningful to me and super impactful to my high school experience. It was just great to get to see them go through that. Thank you.
I'm Hunter Harms, and I'm a junior at the high school. And I was a web leader when I was in middle school, and I decided that I probably should be a Link leader when I went to the high school just to keep it going. But I guess my goal was just to provide a way for the incoming freshmen to have a nice transition from the middle school to the high school so that they felt comfortable and welcomed and so that they weren't very nervous. And I saw that in the beginning they were pretty nervous, but as the year progressed, they definitely became a lot more comfortable. And by the end of the year, as of right now, I'm probably pretty good friends with half of the class in there. But I just want to show one of my best experiences in there was probably about a month before career registration, there was one student who didn't really know what they wanted to do. So they came up to me, and I was pretty happy about that. But then, so they didn't know what they were gonna do, but they didn't know what they were gonna do. So then we started talking back and forth, and they were thinking about going to either business or art, and then we decided to just pick one, and then they ended up going to art. And then they tried some art classes, and then they really liked it. But yeah, I was really happy that I could help out with them, and so I was just really happy that I could get them on the right track, so that they were just set up for the next year, and so that they could maybe even hopefully become a Link leader too, and to make better and to make more freshmen feel more comfortable as they transition to high school.
Hi, I'm Nicole Thayer. I'm a senior at the high school, and I was a web leader in 8th grade during middle school, and then I was also a Link leader my junior year and now. One of the things I want to talk about is how our training helped us and how that's really impactful. One of the things that we did was this thing called Bird on a Perch. It was this weird game that nobody wanted to play because you'd sit on somebody's knee and act like a bird on a perch. But what that really taught us as a group of Link leaders, is to get out of our comfort zone and be goofy, because as you are a leader, sometimes you have to be goofy in order to get attention from your 9th graders or anybody you want to have attention to. And I would say I'm a goofy person, and I think that really helps out my freshman class, because it's how can they embarrass themselves when I'm up here embarrassing myself? So that's just really a key thing in our training. It's learning also how to share our gifts that we have, our skills, being a leader in more of a leader in certain times, and then being more of a follower. And one of the things that I really wanted to help the freshmen and also the 7th graders is having a place to belong. And when you are entering high school, you're afraid that everybody's looking at you, you're weird, you're different. But I think having us peers makes them more comfortable and more relaxed in being themselves, since we are ourselves, up at the front teaching them these lessons. So I think it's really important for us to continue to be here and to continue to support the 9th graders as they transition into high school. It's such a monumental time.
Thank you so much. Do we have?
I was just gonna say thank you very much. Good job. And it was a little nerve-wracking, speaking of here. It's nerve-wracking for me still too, so. But I wanted to say, I think it's really great that on the first day of school, only 7th grade goes to school and only 9th grade goes to school. I think that is really helpful, because that's just been a change maybe in the last few years. So I think that is really helpful and really great. So thanks for what you guys are doing.
I just want to thank you as well, and Sophia, they'll be so glad to have you back next year. And I just want to say, you know, you're coming up and telling these very personal stories, and it's very touching how you really, the impact you make on the 9th grade. And I'm sure that as much as they rely on that support, they'd like to have that meeting with you every day. But it seems like you see this natural progression of them kind of maturing up, and like you stated, you can kind of see that, and now you're comfortable to be signing off. And so thank you for all you do. I know it is a rigorous training, and we've had this for how many years, Ms. Molly?
Oh,
Quite some time.
Dr. Matthew, about 20 plus.
15 years,
Yeah.
18 years. It's been,
Yeah. I know.
Long standing.
My daughter was a web leader. She's amazing. But anyway, thanks for all you do. We really appreciate all that work and interaction that you lend to the 9th grade.
I was just gonna say, I know when we start assessing 9th grade must be it's a big deal. It's a big change from the junior high, and just having that, instead of having to ask teachers, it's nice to have someone a little younger that can kind of guide them and that they can feel comfortable. I mean, I think that is such a great resource. And the training that you guys get, it's a future leadership training. It's for your future. I mean, it's a good stepping stone for what you end up doing in your lifetime. So you're never gonna lose those skills. And just the good feeling that you have at the end of the year. Do you guys have an end of year kind of event with your students? I mean, I'm not sure how it ends, so. Oh, no.
Great question. So each link group plans a year-end celebration with their Ranger Connect, so they can decide on a theme, they can decide on a potluck or certain games, and so they'll be spending Monday with their 9th graders, just kind of signing off farewell, and then tomorrow we have our own Link Crew morning celebration as well. So it'll be very sad and exciting to see our seniors graduate. They've done a tremendous job this year, and so we want to send them off.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes, we do need a little closing.
I did write down one question, Ollie. Did they get a certification after the completion of the training? Like to use a job application?
You know what?
College
That
application?
is a great recommendation. I am always making sure that they understand how important it is to include it on college and job applications. It is, like I said, an internationally recognized program, but I think a certificate would be a great addition that we could. I probably can't whip that up by tomorrow morning, but in the future, we can do that. I think that's a great idea, because it does need to be leader trained.
Right, and like Member Corcoran made a great point that it is a leadership program, and you're showing these great leadership skills, so.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing, and as the parent of a freshman, thank you for all your work.
They've given it their all. So thank you for your time. We appreciate it. We'll probably be.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we will move on to Community Education, Director McKinnon.
Future is certainly in good hands. Thank you, Dr. Massey, Board President Peterson, and members of the school board. On behalf of Community Education, we are excited to once again come before the school board and give an overview. I was asked earlier if I'll be using any puns tonight, and certainly we will be doing a deep dive here into the aquatic. I heard some drum tapping back there. Into our aquatic program, our pool, our community pool, an asset in our community that we're really proud of, and it's a body of water that does not have too many mosquitoes around it right now too. So before we go in, I'd like to just introduce
Jen Olson. She's our pool supervisor and one who is absolutely instrumental in the leadership and providing the necessary resources and attention to the staffing and equipment and all the stuff that goes into the pool, along with our custodians that we'll be speaking on here tonight. Before I go into that, I just want to provide a quick overview of all the different programs. I was sitting in the audience here tonight thinking of my first presentation here, however many years back, and I did an overview of all of our programs and kind of just a quick hitter. Since that time, I've spent we present once a year, and we'll do an analysis on one program, or we've done one on each of these programs. And as I go through here, it's hard to believe that we have made it through the cycle in all of our programs. So our aquatics program will be the last before we cycle back through. So we're very excited about all that's going on in the pool. When I first arrived, our team sat down, and Jen was a part of this. We sat down and we answered the question right away, why do we exist? And we came up with our community education purpose statements and answering the question why. And I have to say, all throughout my time here, and especially through COVID, both these and what's on our next slide, our value statements, things that are important to us, have really guided our decision through some really challenging times, some really difficult decisions that we had to make. Do we run? Do we not run? How do we run? Thinking of the pool and all the conversations Jen and I had with, okay, can we run this program? What does the guidance say? Are we able to do anything? And if so, how do we pull this off? And I have to say that both our purpose statements here and the value statements that you'll see on the next slide, what takes place on a daily basis in that pool hits every mark to the T. From identifying needs to providing cost-effective activities, maximizing the use of school resources, and that school resource gets maximized, no question. And then promoting growth and engaging learners in our community. And then what's important to us, especially when it comes to making decisions around how we take our programming, what we offer. And again, safety, critical, providing great customer service and community service, focusing on growth, working on respect and responsibility, compassion and commitment, and then encouraging growth, innovation, progressive expansion, and continuous improvement. And we have seen really, really good growth in the activities that are taking place in our pool that we'll be speaking to here this evening. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our amazing aquatic supervisor, Jen Olson, and give her the steering wheel.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jen, and no mosquitoes. I've been doing this pool stuff forever because why wouldn't I? It's 84 every single day. When I go to work, I can wear my flip-flops every single day. So I dress like this every day because you never know when I'm going to need to be in the pool or out. So just going to start with a little bit. This is a group of our kids from last summer, the aquatics program. At the end, we do like a little mini meet. And then we give out a t-shirt so they can all wear their t-shirts everywhere, and we all pull together. And we let them have a little say in what we're going to do with our shirts. So every year they kind of change a little bit. So we see a lot of them. Oh, wrong way. So I have really awesome staff, and they're really goofy, and they are wonderful kids that are all about safety and smile all the time. So right now, this summer, we probably have about 30 staff, everywhere from volunteers, from middle school to high school kids, college, and some adults. The good thing is you treat them well and pay them well and have a fun, safe environment. They like to come back, and that's what we try to do, is keep them coming back. And which Tracy knows really well is right now the phones are ringing. People want to know who's teaching swimming lessons, who's teaching on Monday night, who's teaching private lessons, because families really bond with our staff and they want to have and see a lot of the same staff. So we do a lot of in-service training, a lot of training to make sure that we are safe and that everybody wants to come back and be a part of what we do. I don't know if all of you know this, how crazy our pool is, but just in case you don't know how crazy our pool is, 6 little lanes that we occupy all the time. So in the fall, girls swimmers are in there from middle of August until we go right into boys until synchro. So the whole time, other than we kick them out for a couple holidays, which the coaches still wish we could let them swim, but I'm like, no, it's a holiday. Stay out of my pool. Please stay out of my pool. But 2:30 to 6 o'clock, the girls get it Monday through Friday, and then Saturday mornings. And then the boys do the same thing, and then synchro does the same thing. And then when synchro just left to go to state, we kick everyone out, and we drain down the pool, and we super sanitize and super clean, and we kick off summer on the 12th. I am a pool person. I've been a pool person my whole life. I've coached. I was a swimmer. I have been in, I can tell you, every pool pretty much around. Kudos to our custodial staff. I love being over there with Dave. I love Mike, those guys. We never shut down. Our pool, you guys, I don't know if you know how often pools shut down. We don't shut down. They are so on top of things that every day I don't ever worry. I've worked in other school districts where I'm like, here we go again, another Saturday, we can't have swimming lessons. That is non-existent in our building. They are just unbelievable. So we're very lucky. Here's our program, here's what we're gonna do, and I don't have to worry. So I feel very lucky. Our whole building feels very lucky. So this is just a quick little what we do. Tracy, my right hand, left hand, back hand, forward hand, all my hands. She gets up in the morning and we kick out the pool at 5:30 in the morning with lap swim. And then the pool kind of sits now during the day, and that's okay. We rearrange how we do cleaning. And then, like I said, 2:30, the teams start coming in. 6 o'clock, we are run, go, because we have hundreds of people coming in for swimming lessons from 6 to 9. And we do everything that we can until 9, until the custodians tell us we have to leave because they need to get back into cleaning. And then during the school year, we are 7 days a week. We run like a crazy, crazy, crazy place. And then in the summer, I'm very nice and I say, we're not gonna be open Friday after 4 o'clock and Saturday and Sunday. So we worked that partnership out a while ago. So in the summer, we have a lot more stuff going on. Saxonic comes and swims Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, pretty much our whole entire summer. We have rec swim we can add in. But in the summer, here's a day in the summer. 5:30 to 7 lap swim, 7 to 9, the bigger kids are coming for swimming. Then the kids that want to be bigger swimmers, they're the next group. Then we go into swimming lessons, into private swim lessons. Then we go into rec swim or Saxonic, the pool literally never stops. Then we go into private lessons, regular lessons, and that takes us to 9 o'clock at night. So Monday through Friday, pretty much that's what we're doing. So in between all that, so here's just some quick numbers, and I didn't do everything. I just kind of gave you a snapshot of what's going on. So if you look at last summer, level 1 through 7, we had 313 kids. So fall, winter, spring, our catalog's a little bit different, just how we do it with the pool shutting down in May. So our spring is kind of shorter, but there's just some numbers that tell you kind of what's going on. So I'll talk a little bit more on the next slide too, but camps and clinics, so we have a feeder program. Rangers is our feeder program into our Boys and Girls Swim Club. So as long as you can swim down and back, just as long as you can get down there and get back, we are happy to take you. We are going to make you a swimmer if you want to be one. If not, we're going to send you back to some private swimming lessons or another group of swimming lessons and then bring you back. And then NFS is our Northern Formation Synchro, which feeds into our synchronized swim team. So if you look in the fall, the numbers are huge because all those girls want to swim then, and then it kind of tapers down during synchro season. So those are just the younger kids that can't be on the team yet. So we kind of have those clubs, those feeder programs we've worked really hard to create. And even our Rangers, we get some kids from other districts that come because they just don't really have those programs running. And we run it so it's really pretty cost effective. So those other swimmers, even from around, it's kind of fun because we have Cambridge kids coming, Chisago Lakes kids coming, and they know each other. So it's fun for them to connect during the summer too. So that was just a little bit about the camps and clinics. I kind of already went there. The other thing we do in the summer is we do a little diving camp on Tuesday nights, just to get kids a little bit of work on that board, just so they can feed into that. But we have 3 really successful swim teams, so we do our part to feed into that. And then our biggest thing is just safety. We just want everyone to be around water. We want everyone to feel comfortable, and we work really hard to get that happening. Tracy, or our wait lists are crazy. When I came here in the fall, we would just have Monday nights. And now we have 2 sessions of Monday nights because we've had so many people. We just sit down, Tracy comes to my office, and Corey knows this too. I have a dry erase board, and I have to get all the color markers out. That's my daughter that in me, she created this piece to me that put all the fun colors out, and then we just start, what can we do? How can we do it? How can we get more in? So we really, really maximize our pool, really. So if you ever want to talk about second pool, we can do it. We can fill it. I promise you we can fill it. So, yeah. So So any questions on my end before I pass it off to Corey?
Great.
Yeah, so with this pool, are you looking at any major updates to the equipment? How's the equipment working?
This is the first summer in a few summers where the pool is drained down right now, and we're not running around like crazy with Corey, who's actually been in there being grout before. This year, we're just really sanitizing the heck out of things and just doing a deep dive clean. No major repairs that we need, and again, that's the kudos to Mike and Dave being on top of it and just watching things that are coming. There are some things that are going to come, of course, that we're watching, but nothing major right now, just because it's old and it's used a lot.
I included some slides here of just the pool. It's not often you see the pool like this without people, and rightly so. But the next few pictures really do a testament to the condition that the pool is in. You know, I think back when I went to junior high here in that building, and I remember thinking at the time that the pool was old, and yellow lights and yellow lens lights underneath, and the upgrades that have taken place here, which we are so appreciative of, that the district really has paid really good attention to this facility by way of through the referendum and adding the good airflow system, to constantly paying attention by our custodians to all of the inner workings underneath the pool and the pipe flows, and of course the annual maintenance that takes place here. We've got new bleachers, which are just great addition in cleaning that whole area up from what was there before. A new record board. We have a new timing board that's going to be coming down the pipe. Or battery might be dying here. I might not have the best aim, or might be trying to go through a chair. Starting blocks that we are partnered with the activities office, so that we've got the block FL and new starting blocks there too. So you can see that the pool is in amazing shape. This is what it looks like right now. So every year we do a full drawdown, and that's where it gets its utmost tender love and care. And you can actually see our custodians back there. They're working on it as I was taking that picture. So I go down there and they like to show me all the different little inner workings, and it really is fascinating. More than anything, their attention to detail. We cannot have the facility we have, operate the program we have, without not only the amazing staff that Jen trains, within an inch of their life about safety and how to teach, but also the custodians who pay such great attention to this important facility in our community. I did jump in the pool and get some of those unique shots. It is a very interesting viewpoint of a pool, but also speaks to its magnitude a little bit there too. I included some snapshots of the catalog. As you can see, there is a lot, and this is only from our spring-summer catalog that's out right now. And these 8 pages, I mean, they're full. There is a lot going on there. And I've included that, tied that with some of the financials. We always have to pay attention to the money and how we're doing, most certainly. Any one of my colleagues will say, we'll run a pool, because all it is it's a money drain. Sorry for the pun. But Jen and I have worked really hard, and I have to say really to Jen, in operating the pool properly in such a way where we're near breaking even. Now, I have to say it wasn't always that way when I first got here and we had the Y open up, and we're very, very grateful for the Y and the services that they provide there. But there was a lot of everybody sort of moved in different directions. And a lot of that is sort of settled, and we've seen, where folks have come our way, gone to the Y, gone both, and that's ultimately what we want. Because when we go back to our initial slides, it's meeting the needs of the community, and we're doing that. But Jen and I certainly had a number of conversations over the years of, okay, how is it that we can make sure that the pool isn't losing so much money? And so that we can continue to reinvest in our programming. And Jen has done a remarkable job in running the type of program that keeps the building full while making sure it gets the maintenance it does, and ensuring that we have the high level of customer service, quality teaching going on, that people want to come back. And then we're seeing the fruit of that now. So this past year, we actually finished in the black. And all that does is allow us to allocate other community resources, including the minor pool revenue, but back into that program to keep reinvesting it and building that program up to make it stronger. Jen says that she has already her ideas for a second pool. She told me on the side that she's ideas for a third pool.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said about that. So in all, Community Ed, we have our 3 seasonal catalogs there, and right now our spring summer one is out, our fall one, and I know we don't want to talk about it too much, but it will be in hands in about a month. We'll just leave it at that because we're just moving into summer. And I also want to just close by saying thank you to the board, to all of you for your great support of our pool program, but all of our Community Ed programs, from engaging in our programs, our classes, to sitting in on advisory councils, and the value that we feel as a Community Ed department on our important role in the community and the school district. It doesn't go unnoticed, and we do thank you for that. So with that, we do open up to any other questions.
I just want to say congratulations for running a successful program and a fiscally responsible program. I like to see both aspects of it. So kudos to you, because I know it's got to be very tough. The only question I had was, I know we had, when we did our school board orientation tour at the pool, there was a comment made about was either diving or the length of the lanes that are forbidding us from competing in section tournaments.
Diving wells,
Yeah.
So is there any way that the pool can be upgraded to facilitate that, or is that not possible?
Build a second pool.
Outside of building a second pool, is
You'd
it?
have to, I mean, I was at Cambridge, and we did this at Cambridge for the starting blocks on the other end, and literally they broke down 2 exterior walls. They went in, smashed all the floor, hauled it all out. We were closed for 4 months and redid the whole thing because they had to drop the whole ground and dig it all out. And it was like bobcats going in and out. It was absolutely crazy.
So it's diving, that's the issue, it's
So-
not the swimming.
Yep, so swimming is fine, we can teach swimming lessons, we can teach all the classes, do everything. It's just the girls and boys swimming when they get to the divers. The divers can sign a waiver and practice, because it's still 11 feet, so they're fine, so, you know. It's just, if the team is coming here and they don't want to sign the waiver, then they just go dive over there. Does that make sense?
Over at the water.
So like if Chisago is swimming against,
Oh.
yeah, so then they'll just go dive at the opposite, so then the swimmers will stay here and swim, but just the divers will go there.
How many tournaments or meets do you think that that's prohibiting or has prevented from happening here?
The meet still goes on, just the divers will go over there, and I would, most of the time they go over there, the schools just choose to do that. As a person who's been in the pool forever, you gotta make yourself go that far deep, so the injury ratio is really, really low. It's just, they put that law in forever ago, but you gotta try to go that deep. So just some of the divers that do that, I coached at Cambridge forever, and my swimmers and divers swam and dove, so for me that would have been like, what do you mean you're gonna take just the divers and go over there? That would have freaked me out, because my kids were doing both. And here, they just, if you're a diver, you're a diver, if you're a swimmer, you're a swimmer. But that's just how the program runs here, and it works because they have enough divers to do that. I didn't always have enough divers, and I needed, or so that I would have them do both, if that makes sense, so that they would get enough events in.
Good job.
Okay.
Yeah, remember. So just to dig in on that a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Keep it going.
You said our pool's 11 feet and the law requires what?
We're just short of what it is, but the whole thing is you'd have to take that whole, and believe it or not, that concrete piece below the tile is probably like this thick. So it's just, you'd have to break all that up, dig it all out, and then dig down deeper, and then replace that whole entire bottom. And then, once you do that too, it can cause the cracking on the sides of the wall, so then you open yourself up to a bigger mess. It did work at Cambridge, we did it years and years and years ago, but it was kind of like, hope this works.
Yeah, so it is like literally opening a can of worms. You end up with problems. You're better off just tearing out and rebuilding the whole thing. Like a cost benefit there. Or just building another pool. Okay. That does make sense.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Member Tyson and Member Gordon.
Well, you are certainly so ambitious and enthusiastic, much like Tracy and all your staff, because I do hear from parents that they get very attached to their swim instructors. And they're like, I gotta get signed up, I gotta call in, so kudos to you and your staff for being that person. And I know that during pre-COVID or during COVID, you guys just knocked it out of the park with like being open, and parents were so excited to be able to take their kids to the pool and to go somewhere and do an activity.
I always hate to go back to that time, but really we did. And like I joke, I'm like, I read more during that period than I did all of my college years, because it was like every single time I'm like, Corey, I just talked to so-and-so and they're gonna do this. What do you think about this? Well, okay, all right, let's try that. You know, we were on top of it. And a lot of, I mean, I won't name names, but a lot of the pools around like took months and months, if not a whole year, to get back to doing. And we were just, okay, if we can only have 6, we can only have 6. If parents have to wait in their car, they have to wait in their car. We'll just, you know, we just tiptoed into every time we got a new way of allowing us to do something. And then because we built all those relationships with all those other communities of all those people that weren't getting their need met, we still have a lot of outside people that are now connected with our staff and are like, fine, we're still driving to see us, so.
We took a lot of, I mean, I'd say there were calculated financial risks during that time because we, of course, weren't able to operate at anywhere near full capacity. But we did believe, and it's paid off since, that it was better to maintain engagement with our community however we could than to just keep the doors closed and, you know, we'll see you whenever we can see you. And so it was, yeah, it was a lot of creative, where can people be in this segment of the pool and that segment of the pool, and our motto, like everything else we did as a system, was okay, if we can, we will. We won't cross lines, we never did, but it took a lot of creativity and a lot of hard work and thinking around it, but it's paid off.
Drowning, I mean, age 5 and under is #1. I mean, so for me, I'm like, we have to get up and running. We've got to get the people back in this pool and the safety, and so that, you know, we were always just, how can we do it? Because these kids are going to miss a year or 2 of swimming lessons as they're little, you know, people. Like, it's just, I hate reading those articles, so I'm, get them in and get them safe.
Well, Director McKinnon, kudos to you big time. That was a tall task to bring that pool back to fruition and what it is now, because it was a sad affair back prior to 2018. And Tracy gave me a tour when I was on Community Ed Committee a couple of years ago. It's so impressive in there. I mean, just what we've done in there makes it look so nice and clean and bright, and the FL all over. I love that. But bringing that up from being a loss and problematic is just huge, so thank you. One quick question. How are the adult activities in aquatics? Do we still have some of them?
So, not so much right now. One, we don't have a lot of time or space, and then the times and space they've asked for, we give them, and they don't really want to pay. They want to still come to swimming lessons for, you know, $2 for aerobics class, or $2. So, so we have some in our lap swim program that still do that, and then, you know, Tracy can attest to a lot of our, some go to Hawaii, depends if they're on Medicare or where they are or what they're doing. But when COVID hit, lap, or our aerobics program kind of took a hit, and then we lost some people just completely, and then we tried to survey, and they're like, we want to do it at this time, so we moved it to earlier, and then we'd only have 2 or 3 people that want to do it, and then we tried, we brainstormed, we came up with, we reached out, we brainstormed, we tried, and then we finally just found that they're finding their needs somewhere else, that they're going to a hotel pool and just dropping in and doing their thing, because you can just drop into some of the hotels, or they're going to the Y or somewhere else.
Good to know, but the numbers are so impressive. Thank you for all your hard work.
I echo Mr. Tyson. I remember the day the pool was, we weren't sure how long it was going to be running, and it was in bad shape. It looks amazing now. I've attended quite a few events, synchro and different boys and girls swimming, and I mean, the caliber of swimmers that come out of that pool is impressive.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I said, we didn't have a track all those years, and we had amazing track athletes and just like swimmers. So we do the best and what we can, what we have, and we've been very frugal and try to make things last as long as possible. We do, I mean, that's the only thing we have left in our district to get done is in the pool. And that, to me, is something that we've talked about over the years, and hopefully in the future that can be looked at, because you guys have done a great job keeping it going. And I said, custodial staff, like you said, has worked incredibly hard, and making a profitable program is impressive. So thank you for all your hard work. really did a great job.
Very good presentation, thank you. I was just gonna say, you know, for a long time, we had a track that could not hold any needs. We always had to be away, and now we have a new track, and I've been noticing we are hosting so many things now, conferences, I mean, all these nights, there's been tents up and everything, so it's sort of a, you know, you build it and they will come kind of thing. So, you know, what Member Corrigan said, perhaps we can, you know, get something done, and then we can host more things. So, you know, of course, it's gonna cost on the front end, but if we're able to host more things, attract more things, fill it up in different ways, you know, that would be a good cost-benefit analysis.
Yeah, and coupled with where we're seeing the numbers trend to, you know, the class, I mean, not only the number of pages you see on there, but that they're all full, and we have wait lists for classes, so the demand is certainly there.
Well, I want to jump into the deep end. And I think we should, at some point, consider a conversation as a board, at least to look at what that would entail, the costs and then the benefit, and do that analysis and see what an additional pool would actually entail. Because as stated, the number of events we've had here since we've redone our athletic facilities, and the benefit to the community and the community businesses that just absolutely, you know, increase on those weekends when we have basketball tournaments and track meets and softball tournaments that we're capable of having now that we couldn't before, really return some revenue to the community and the business owners who do contribute a lot to the tax base within our district. So I think it's definitely a conversation we should look at in the future.
To that point, I actually have a question. How does our facility compare with other conference facilities? Are we the only one that can't host diving? Are there other conference schools that don't have pools? How does it look across the conference?
So there's a lot of girls teams, there's a huge amount of girls teams, but there's a lot of schools that don't host boys or synchro. So for us to have three, to have that pool full for three is remarkable. That there's very, very few in the state. I can't even know, I'd have to really think. So the idea that we have three really successful teams that are here is really awesome. Can you even think of one? I'm trying to think. Bellevue, you can't dive at. Theirs is like 8 feet, because that was way back when I was in high school, and I remember how shallow that was. But most now, you know, have some newer ones, or they just have already made the arrangements, and they do kind of what we do here, is they just dive somewhere else.
So what happens if Bellevue were to come here? Is that the waiver process, and then they can dive here?
Yeah. Yep.
Great. Thank you.
All right, well, and you know what, one thing that was missed here, I guess, is living in Minnesota and having so much water. Those swimming lessons are so valuable to our youngsters. I know both myself and my son and my brother, you know, if we didn't know how to swim, we wouldn't be here. So I've definitely benefited from swimming lessons. My kids took them here, so it's definitely a value that often is overlooked. But the amount of water we have and the cycle of seasons we have, the number of kids that end up in the water in a year, not intentionally, but really brings a real value to the community. Any other questions, comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we will move on to positive happenings. Anybody have anything they want to share? Member Christensen?
Thank you. Some positive happenings, and one very positive thing that happened that I think we can all be very grateful for is there was an accident, a car accident last Friday involving two Scandia families, very scary. And the student that was injured the most was a 5th grader, and she is home now with some injuries that's going to take some time to heal, but so grateful that it was really scary. So super grateful for that. On May 11th, I went to, there was a Scandia parent meeting with Dr. Massey and Member Rebeline and Member Hagelin were there as well, with our new principal, Shannon. careful who will be there starting July 1st. So that was a good meeting. Parents just sharing concerns and visions for the future. And then on May 19th, I was at the Scandia Carnival. Remember, Wakefield was there too. That was fun. The PTO did a great job, and a big shout out to the Scandia teachers. There was a lot of teachers there participating and helping run the game, so that was really fun. And then on May 25th, also at Scandia, we had our 5th grade living museum. The students all pick a person from history, and so that's kind of fun. They did a good job. Just the other night, I was at the boys lacrosse playoff game in Andover, and they lost 11-12, so their season's over. And last night, some colleagues were there too. I think last night, the band concert, there was a 9th grade band concert, and it was band and orchestra and the community band. And the community band was really great, and that is a community ed thing. They said that, and they were just really great. And then at the end, they had one big grand finale. So that was really fun. So yeah, some good stuff going on. Thanks.
Yeah, so I took in the concert, and now I found out Denver Wakefield was there. I thought it was really, really fun. They had 2 student conductors, and the first one was a male, and he was doing a montage of Star Wars. And so he got up and he had this lighted saber thing directed with. And then the girl director, they did Elton John montage, and she had to get up there and just get flying, you know. And so anyway, I made an Instagram that got like hundreds of likes because it was just them directing. It was very fun. And yes, the community band was awesome at the end, and kudos to our music directors. They do such an excellent job, and we know that our music programs are our prized possession in our district. We just keep them close to our hearts. They're awesome. The other thing that I really enjoy, and it's one of the highlights of being on the school board, is going to the retiree recognition. And, you know, it's always amazing to me when I get to shake their hands. It's very humbling to just look in their eyes and wonder, you know, how many times did the stop arm go out for a student, you know, or for a teacher? How many times did you stand at the copier and make copies over 31 years of service? I just love that, and I think that it's so important to give them that recognition and to be there and shake their hands and congratulate them and wish them well. And it was a wonderful event. Joy does an awesome job. I went to the Memorial Day service up in town as well and talked to the 2 students that played taps. Our students, of course. It was awesome. And the last thing I want to mention is that SPEAK, our Substance Prevention Education and Action Coalition, is having a meeting June 7th if anybody wants to join us as part of the coalition and listen in. And that concludes my project. Thank you.
I can kind of pile into some of that. I'm very disappointed I missed the retirement event. That was something I was really looking forward to. Kind of an unplanned trip out of the country, but that was enjoyable as well, so looking forward to that next year. I know we've had a lot of talk about the community band, but I'm going to prop it up one more time. And just to mention to our outgoing students, our graduating seniors, you can join. Let's get more of the young kids in there. I know my daughter's part of it. She graduated last year. There's another student that graduated last year that's part of that band. And it's a really tight-knit group. They were out late into the evening last night kind of celebrating the events. So it's a lot of fun, and it's an opportunity to keep the dust off the instruments, so to speak. Another thing I wanted to mention, I don't recall if I mentioned this in a previous meeting, but the Radium Girls play that they put on was excellent. That group did a really good job. My son ended up helping with a lot of the props and a lot of the behind the scenes work that goes on in there, but I know that group worked really hard, and it was a really enjoyable play. True story. That'll just boggle your mind, but it was really, really well done. And that concludes my report.
Anyone else?
Echo Member Waitson's retirement event. There was so many years of service. I know we added them up, and I know it was many, but thousands, I don't even know at this point, but well attended, and it's just always great to recognize them and take it. And so there's a lot of years of service. They're gonna be missed. It's a big hole when they leave, when they have 30-some years of the bus driver, no, mechanic.
We had a mechanic at 46 years.
46 years. I said, are the buses still gonna run without you? He said, I sure hope so. I got a little nervous, because that's a long time. So it's hard enough to get a bus driver to replace, let alone the mechanic. So, yeah, that was a great event. So thank you for joining in for that. It was a great event.
Anyone else?
I would just say we had a great session this year. I mean, we got money on the schedule, we got money on community ed, we got a lot of good policy stuff going on, and I was just thrilled how it came out, and it's good for the kids of this district, and it's good for the kids of the schools in Minnesota that they came through for us.
I would agree. Great session for education. Always could have been better, but it was great. I also enjoyed the retiree recognition. That's such a great event. I always like going. And then also I attended several trap events and practices. And then tonight, before I came here, was actually the trap banquet. And so that was fun. We've got a lot of seniors leaving as usual. And we got a great team headed to state on the 16th up in Alexandria. So it should be a good time, and we'll be up there ourselves. And yeah, so a little warm out for tonight's banquet before I got here, but yeah, fun. Anything else, anyone? All right. We will move on to reports, workshops and conferences. Anyone?
There was a really great workshop on yesterday, from 1 to 3:30 in St. Paul, and it's put on by, well, it was through the Minnesota School Board Association, and it's a group called Braver Angels, and it was a great presentation. There was about 35 people there, mayors from different towns, county attorneys, other elected officials, and just talking about managing difficult conversations with constituents and colleagues, and they just kind of talked about some strategies. But yeah, it was a good lesson and a very good presentation. It's a professor from the University of Minnesota is the one that started it. So anyway, that was good. Thank you.
Member Christensen, we did cap that off and close that August 8:35. Could you forward that?
Sure.
To anybody, any other board members that wanted?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other workshops, conferences? Seeing none, we'll move to 9:16. Dr. Tyson.
I have no report. We meet next week.
Buildings and grounds.
It was, we talked about the long-term facility maintenance plan, and we also had a little field trip out to the observatory, tour, and Nicole Lindahl was our guide, and we got to go into the building, we got to see how it all worked, and it's been amazing for our community. She was talking about all the ideas for the high school classes, having field trips from the elementary schools, having community involvement, having be part of community ed. So it's just some great opportunities for the future to see the stars. So, and she showed us how it kind of worked, and she said if you pick a planet, and it'll stay with the planet as it moves. So just say you have 20 students, and each student will be able to see it without having to like recalibrate it, and it'll be back. It will automatically travel, follow star or whatever you want to see. And we're kind of talking about different things that you want to maybe put inside there, like a heater, or not sure what they're going to do with that space yet inside, but it can hold, I don't know, quite a few people in there. It's a little, you gotta be careful going in, it's a little low, so if you're tall, you gotta have to bend down, but it was really awesome. And of course, Bill Schwartz gave us a long laundry list of maintenance items like he always does. And yeah, I've talked a lot about the ice arena, that's exciting. The roof was gonna be going on, and I don't have the exact date of when it's opening up, Chrissy, but thinking
August is when the second it will be done. So we'll have ice in June, ice on the first week.
So excited for that, and yeah, it's going well. And that concludes my report.
We'll move to the City of Forest Lake. Member Christensen.
I wasn't able to attend the May 22nd meeting, but I did check in with one of the council members, and she said that from her perspective, there was not any any relevant information, she felt that the school board needed, so. Report on the city of Forest Lake.
We'll move to communications committee.
Yeah, so we talked about district marketing and communications, and of course, we talked about the website, because that's having major changes, and it's coming together, so there's a lot of times where I start thinking, how does this look, so we spent quite a bit of time on that. And we also talked about community education, marketing, communications.
Member Rayfield, we'll move to community education.
Yes, I attended the May 15th meeting, and it was really fun. They give out, community education gives out mini grants. So if you're in that department, you can apply for a mini grant. And so we talked about all the different grants. It was really an interesting, a new experience for me, and it's been going on for quite a while, so some of the other committee members are more familiar with it. But we fully funded 6 mini grants within the department for just over $5,000. And as I said, all community ed staff and departments are the ones that submit the grant proposals. So that was really fun. And we talked a little bit about a few other things just under community education updates. The summer childcare is really bouncing back to 2019 levels, which is really good news. And they're happy to see that. Preschool enrollments are looking great for the school year. And we talked about the shutting down of the pool to do maintenance, which you already mentioned. And Dr. McKinnon talked about the robot that paints the lines. And apparently his name is Tony. But what's important about that is I saw something saying, you know, how much this cost or whatever. But I think what we need to remember is it saves so much time. Otherwise, you actually physically have a person going out there, measuring it all out, roping it all out. They can program the robot to do that really quickly. I don't remember the time, but it was amazing. Hours as a human and, I don't know, like 20 minutes or something as a robot. So anyway, that was kind of neat. We saw some pictures of it, and I think it has the FL on it, as painted, of course. So that was kind of fun, but that concludes my report. Thank you.
We'll move to curriculum instruction and equity.
Yeah, so in the Curriculum Instruction and Equity Committee, we talked about, we had a discussion about the process behind picking a new curriculum for early childhood, and then the discussion of them choosing Frog Street as their new curriculum and what it would mean for kids.
We'll move to finance committee.
We talked about the fiscal year 23 budget status, kind of the run rates, looking at, and we're on task with everything that we've done over the last few years. Talked about fiscal year 24 medical premiums, which we have on our agenda tonight. And also that has been a lot of work and looking at a lot of different options and trying to be really careful about the increase for staff, trying to find the best alternative, and I think they worked really hard to find a good option. I also did legislative update, which I know Dr. Massey will talk about. Excited for all the new money coming in. Hopefully, we'll be discussing it at our board meeting on the 15th. And that concludes my report.
We'll move to policy committee.
Yeah, actually a short and sweet update here, since the vast majority of our work is on the agenda for later today. The bulk of the policy work that we did is all centered around changes in legislation, changes in terminology, just updating things to match statute a little bit better. We do have one that we're going to have a first reading on, and we'll catch next month. But for the most part, I think we worked through a good number of policies over the last few months, and we really only have one that we're going to have to address before next school year, and that's due to some delays in some state law and some changes there. So really just a lot of positive work done over the last few months there.
And we'll move to staff welfare. We had some conversations around Noon duty and a few other pieces, and yeah, it's a good meeting. We'll move on to superintendent report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought I would take a few minutes and walk you through the significant legislative changes. I know many of you either were directly at the legislature, lobbying your local legislators and folks you know there, or you were sending emails or making phone calls. I lost track of the number of times I was actually at the legislature, meeting with legislators on our transportation bill and some of the overall work that the legislature was doing this year. As Member Rayfield indicated, there was a lot of work done in the first year of the biennial. And you need to absorb this information with the understanding that in a typical year, we get money on the formula, we get a couple of policy things, and if we're lucky, they adjourn on time. And we're lucky that they adjourned on time, but they did so much more than put money on the formula. So I want to walk you through some of the significant changes. Understand that, again, they set the 2-year budget for the state, and that two-year budget then allows us to then build our budget, not just next year, but with an eye toward year 2 in the biennium. We know that the legislature started with a $17.5 billion surplus that held steady from mid last year all the way into and through the legislative session. Conference committee did their work, and the House and Senate passed the omnibus education bill that is now signed by the governor. We'll take a look, first of all, at some of the funding formula pieces. Year 1, FY24, that's the year that starts July 1 this year. Even though it's 23-24, the reference is FY24. A 4% per pupil increase. Again, that is double or more than double what we typically get in a funding formula. Our largest share of state resources come by way of funding on a per pupil basis. So that is significant monies coming in. In year 2, it's a 2% increase. I would say that is a bit disappointing. When the Senate started at 5 and 5, the House started at 4 and 4, the governor started at 4 and 4, and indexed to inflation as well. And we end up with 2% in the second year, FY25. The index to inflation starts in FY26. How that works is it's tied to CPI, Consumer Price Index, and they built in a floor and a minimum at 2% with a cap of no more than 3%. So without any legislative work, we can calculate per pupil funding increase simply based on what the indications appear to be from the CPI. That doesn't mean that the legislature can't add more to that. They could do a 1% formula increase, a 2% formula increase. But if CPI runs hot, as it is now, at 5+%, the cap will be 3%. The other significant work is in the special education area. In previous years, we've received about $500,000 in cross-subsidy reimbursement. Cross-subsidy being the dollars we draw from the general fund to cover uncovered special education costs. A 44% increase in cross-subsidy, just to give you the scale and magnitude of that. Our cross-subsidy is about $7.2 to $7.3 million each year. So at 44% of that, you can see the magnitude of new revenues that come in the next year, FY24. So that'll hold steady 24, 25, 26, and increase to 50% in FY27 and later. I don't know the percent, Dr. Wilson, Member Heidi, it's about 8% is the number that I'm thinking in my head, but it results in about $500,000. This will be close to $3 million in revenue. So you can see the magnitude of the increase on the special education. Because that was the focus of the legislature day one. They were resolved on all three legislative bodies, government bodies, to address that. And a 44 and then up to a 50% is a significant step. The next area of funding increases is making more dollars available for English learners. These are kids that are learning English as a second language. So they increase the formula from the per pupil formula from $7 or $704 per student to $12.28 FY 24-25, and then increase it to $17.74 in 26-27. And then it begins to have a cross-subsidy component of 25% of still uncovered cost in FY 27 and later. The legislature also gave school boards board authority to automatically renew existing operating referendum. And that has been an ongoing conversation at the legislature for the last many, many years, and with little movement. This year, they provided that authority in statute, thereby giving Forest Lake School Board, yourselves, the authority to renew existing operating referendum. That is qualified, however, as a one-time renewal of an existing referendum. And ours was set, or approved, I should say, in 2018. So that will expire in FY 27. So in terms of 26 is the last year of the 8-year, and then in 27 will be the year that we'll need to make sure that we have it renewed, or we come up with another plan to replace roughly $40 per student. So again, you'll have authority to renew that starting in FY 24 if the board is inclined to do an automatic renewal. The renewal can only be for the existing dollar amount and increase. And it can only be, again, for the same term. So you can renew it for 8 years, only once, for the same amount. I highlighted the next piece. We've talked a lot about transportation sparsity. I won't belabor the time here to go into all the history of transportation sparsity, but we spend $500,000 from our general fund every year to cover uncovered special transportation costs. And the state currently funds 18.2% of that deficit. That was a bill that we sponsored 8-9 years ago. Each year thereafter, we've been at the doorstep of the legislature lobbying to get that increase. Our bill this year that we were lobbying on behalf of was to move it to 70%. It should be, frankly, funded at 100%. We're not asking for a handout here. We're asking to fix a broken formula. And again, I said before, we've never met a legislator that doesn't agree in principle. The House initially adopted language to move it to 40%, down from our bill of 70%. When it got into conference committee, it was not in the Senate bill. So we're fortunate that the House was able to get it ultimately included in the omnibus education bill, but only at 35%. So that is a nominal increase. And I'm already starting conversation with our lobbyists and legislators around, is there a better way to go at this? Because if it's another 8 years just to get a 17% increase, that is a waste of their time and a waste of our time. So we've got to come up with a better process, at least that's my opinion, and hopefully we can get some traction on that.
I have a very brief question on that. The 18.2%, that represents roughly $90,000 right now.
Yeah, I would have to roughly.
Okay, so I am looking at that correctly. So it is about $85,000 net gain for the district, which will help quite a bit with the negotiations that we just went through with our drivers.
For sure, and yeah, I mean, we're grateful, and I sent a direct email to all of the legislators who represent us. All of them supported this. Thanking them for their commitment to this. Josiah Hill out of Stillwater was our chief author on the House side, and then Hochschild and Housley, who are our chief authors on the Senate side, and they did work on behalf of the bill to get this.
Definitely thank you to that group, and thank you to you, Dr. Massey. I know you worked really hard on that, and although it's disappointing we didn't hit the number we were going for, this is a step in the right direction on transportation, so.
You're absolutely right.
And lots of districts across the state will benefit.
Yes.
I just want to comment when you mentioned that I got into the House Omnibus Education, to thank Representative Patty Anderson, because her, I don't know if you got to listen to her clip on the floor, she was very direct. She talked about us, and she spelled it out. This is basic. They want to get their students to school. They don't want to continue to pay for it out of their general fund. So it was very eloquent, and she hit the nail on the head, and it was like an aha. It was like so exhilarating to hear somebody really talk about that directly, because like the superintendent says, you talk to them down at the Capitol, they all agree, but nobody wants to fix that big hairy spider of a formula. So it's a drop in the bucket, basically.
But it is moving, and we're grateful for that.
So good job to the superintendent.
The next item, we've heard a lot around student mental health and student support needs. The legislature recognizes that as well. They set $11.94 per student in FY24 as new money. That money has to be specifically spent on increasing half-time mental health workers, social workers, school counselors, to move them to more full-time or to full-time. Mental health workers, counselors that were hired on one-time money through COVID or ESSER funds. These funds can be used to move them to a full-time or ongoing funding status or to hire additional staff. So it cannot be used to supplant existing funds. FY25, that moves to 1708, and a big increase in FY26 to fund support for kids. School library aid at $16.11 per student, that's new monies to support resources in libraries and media centers. Perhaps one of the most transformative pieces beyond the funding increases, which are rather substantial, is the READ Act. The READ Act is 12, 13 pages of the bill, so I won't get into all the details, but most significantly, it drives the science of reading, which we know is evidence-based. It gets at the phonics, the phonemic awareness, the teaching of encoding and decoding skills, the early literacy reading skills that are so essential for early literacy. We've been doing this work for the last 4, 5, 6 years through curriculum review. Last year, we purchased a substantial curriculum that is rooted in the science of reading. So that piece of $35 million for districts to purchase curriculum. It was interesting in meeting with Representative Edelson, who was the chief author on this bill. I remember in her office saying, we already purchased the curriculum. He said, so we best make it retroactive. I said that would be really helpful for us and many other districts that are a step ahead in this process. So fortunately, this is retroactive to 2021. So there's an opportunity to claim reimbursement. We haven't seen the rules on this yet, but if they reimburse at full cost, that's $800,000 of new revenue that I'm not even calculating on a spreadsheet yet, but we'll have eligibility to reclaim some of those dollars that we invested last year.
One other question. So Representative Chamberlain was big on letters. We've been doing some of that. Can those dollars be used to continue some of that, or
Yeah,
talked about that?
Yeah, the second item is directed toward professional development and training. Also included in that is requiring higher ed, that's training elementary ed teachers to train elementary education teachers in the science of reading. Well, we have a large percentage of our K-3 teachers and even 4, 5, 6 elementary teachers already trained and continuing to be trained in letters, which is the science of reading. The state will set what that training looks like. Letters for sure will be a part of that. There will be district or state consortiums that will provide that training. Not sure how much of that training we'll be able to do. We're currently doing a lot of that training with great success, so we're hoping that we can access those dollars to provide that training in-house for our own staff. Increased dollars for American Indian Education Aid, $12.9 million toward that. That'll be through a grant process. There's funding at $2 per student for Narcan in schools, middle school and high school, menstrual products for grades 4 through 12. And a quick walkthrough of some of the policy pieces. At the end of the day, we were very worried that there would be policy increases that would drain all of the funds that we're receiving. That really didn't play out to the extent, but we'll see in the long term how these dollars continue to be appropriated to schools. Unemployment eligibility for 9-month employees, that's our bus drivers, food service workers, paraprofessionals, who are not, where there isn't work available in the summer, they would be eligible for unemployment. There are a lot of regulations around that, strings attached to that for eligibility. But there's been $135 million statewide allocated in just through FY27 to cover those costs. We're a bit worried that that funding isn't going to totally cover the costs, so we'll be able to. We'll see going into the summer because eligibility begins right away this summer.
Does that include our school nurses?
Yes.
So like nurses, postdocs, and
Director Frieden, the
health
office assistants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one.
8 hours of paid professional development training. We're already doing a great deal of that, but reimbursement for those costs. There's policy around non-exclusionary discipline suspensions for kids in grades K through 3. Special instruction services extending to age 22, so that's really just catching up on some language in terms of practicality there. Monies through grants for career and technical education, and $500,000 allocated to EMS programs, where schools are offering EMS programs. We have an award-winning EMS program and career and tech ed program, so we'll be tapping into these resources as we move forward. Voluntary pre-K and school readiness, almost a doubling of seats added for, or more than doubling seats allocated there. We've applied every year and have not received a lot of this eligibility and funding, but we're hoping with this expansion that we will. Increases in early childhood screening, that'll be a big piece for us because we spend there every year given the magnitude of screening that we do, so that'll be helpful. And then increases in early childhood education. Some things around teachers for, a teacher who's taught for 3 consecutive years in a single district, out of state or in a charter school, qualifies for a continuing contract after 1 year. Currently, a teacher from a charter school that we would hire needs to spend 3 years in our district before they're eligible for continuing contract. That is now 1 year. And if we hire a teacher from Wisconsin, previously that would be a 3-year probationary period, now it's 1 year. Pre-K licensure requirement, teachers that there's a 5-year exemption here, but starting FY28, teachers that we hire for pre-K and early childhood education need to be licensed teachers. And e-learning days, there's a pay requirement for all employees on e-learning days if they're declared in winter for snow days and so on. Some changes in academic standards. These are mostly impacting high school. There's a lot of conversation around these items. There is now a personal finance course required for students in the high school beginning with next year's 8th graders. They will have a requirement to take a course in personnel finance. It's not clear in the bill, MDE will set the rule, whether that's a half credit, which would be a half-year course, or a full-year course for a full credit for personal finance. I think we would all agree that kids learning about how personal finance works, credit, mortgages, personal accounts, balancing checkbooks, all those things, and how critically important that is. But this will be at the cost of elective credits that kids will take, because this will be another requirement. There's also a civics and government requirement in grades 11 and 12. We offer and require a civics course currently in 9th grade. That's a half-year course. If it's a half-year course, that shifts only to 11th and 12th grade. If that becomes a full-year course, then that'll be another half year that kids will have to dedicate to this course. And we'll be drafting elective credit opportunities for kids to take this course. Ethnic studies, there's a lot of conversation about that being a required course. At the end of the day, a required course did not become a requirement, but there have been identified standards or rules for MDE to identify ethnic studies standards that would be embedded in courses that kids would have to meet through existing courses. Same is true for Holocaust and genocide education. And then media arts now includes a 5th arts area. And that is it by way of legislative updates. Oh, I take that back. I got a slow remote here. Terms and conditions of employment requires collective bargaining for primarily teachers or on class size. That provision did prevail through the labor bill. So now teachers can bargain around class size. That's a condition of bargaining. And e-learning days, that there needs to be negotiation when declaring an e-learning day with the teacher bargaining group. I was joking with the teachers yesterday with some of the union leaders at the high school that they need to be available at 2 or 3 in the morning if they want to negotiate around an e-learning day. But that's a very interesting development on how that's going to play out.
Just one more person we get to talk to as well.
Right, exactly. Right. Reduces the number of days that a teacher needs to teach in a given year to count toward a year of service toward continuing contract from 120 to 90 days. Tier 1 teachers are part of the bargaining unit now. ABE and ECFA. FE teachers are eligible for continuing contract status as well through this legislation. Sick time provision and paid family medical leave also gets included through the labor bill. And that is the legislative update. Let me pause there and see if there are any questions that you have. There's a lot of rules that have to be set, and we'll be paying attention to that work out of Minnesota Department of Education. Okay. Summer school starts here on June 20th. That'll be the day after June 19th, which is Juneteenth. Goes through July 28th. And for the first time in a number of years, no school during the 4th of July week. So we'll take that time off for kids and families and staff teaching in summer school. 7:45 to noon, 4-hour and 15-minute school day, depending upon the buses. Secondary will be 8 to 12:15. Those are the locations for summer school. We are well on our way with enrollment, setting bus routes, and hiring teachers for those classes. It's a very big program. And lastly, some important dates already been highlighted, but academic awards Monday, June 5th, this upcoming Monday, 7 p.m. The board chair gets to be on stage for 3 hours shaking hands. We do a very, I think, dynamic and unique thing with this award. We include our Hall of Fame inductees. So it's a great display of all the amazing things our kids do to the adults in the community who are inducted into the Hall of Fame, and for our kids to see the adults from our community and the amazing things they've done with their careers. So it's really a powerful display of amazing kids and amazing adults in the community. The following day on Tuesday at 6 p.m. at Tanner's Brook is the reception for the Hall of Fame inductees. All of you are welcome to attend that event. As you are on Monday, the academic awards, you're certainly welcome and encouraged to attend that. Graduation, I hope you have that marked on your calendar, 7 p.m. We'll gather at 5:30 in the high school media center for a reception. And then we'll head out to hopefully the stadium, weather pending on being outdoors. So far it looks good, warm, but looks good. And that's 7 p.m. in the stadium. Otherwise, we sweat it out in the gym. And those are my updates.
Last year, the sun
It's now in our eyes.
was in our eyes and not the parents.
So with the flip of the stadium,
Yeah, you got it.
we used to have it great up on stage because the sun was at our back. Yes, but we will not anymore. So, but the parents appreciate it.
They do appreciate that.
And I would say on graduation, for those folks who are new, let's talk after so I can give you a little prep on. It's a great event, you'll love it.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really water on
Sure.
stage too for you.
Anything else on the superintendent's report? Seeing nothing, we will move on to the consent agenda. We have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Second?
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Nays, motion passes. We'll move on to action items. We've got donations.
Yes, donations, we have $11,744.21 from the Forest Lake Softball Booster Club for coaches, $7,935.27 from the Dugout Club for baseball coaches, $7,500 from the Hunter Hool Memorial Foundation for community education, $6,116 from the Lino Lakes PTO for a field trip, $3,375 from Girls Lacrosse Booster Club for uniforms, $3,000 from the Lino Lakes PTO for field buses for that same field trip, $1,187 from the Forest Lake Boys Lacrosse Booster Club for coaches, for a coach bus to the game up in Proctor. $900 from Community Helping Hand to the Forest Lake FFA. $788 from the Lino Lakes PTO for 6th grade track and field t-shirts. $700 from the Rotary Club in Forest Lake for Forest Lake Area Schools Emergency nursing supply kits. $250, excuse me. The people at iSmile are like, what? $250, excuse me, from iSmile Orthodontics in support of the marching band. $200 from the Hugo American Legion Post for FFA. And Miss Colleen Colton, $199 to sponsor a marching band member campaign. $100 from Forest Lake Burgers for the Forest Lake FFA. $50 from Mrs. Claire Luger to sponsor, again, a marching band member. And various gift bags from Forest Lake Walmart for the teachers' Teacher Appreciation Day, for a total of $44,000. All these big dollars from like $44,000, 44. And then 48 cents is the total donation. And so with that, I move that we accept these generous donations.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. I just want to say thank you to the community. I mean, that's amazing here at the end of the year. Such a large amount of donations again, and so many things we see over and over, right? Community members who continue to give, so I really appreciate that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion passes. We will move on to 8.2, resolution to certify school district population. Dr. Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Each year, the school district has the opportunity to update and certify the school district's population. This figure enables the district to obtain increased funding for those programs that have revenue based on overall school district population, primarily, if not exclusively, in the community education realm. So the community education staff, Director McKinnon and others, meet with the state demographer, study those reports, and this is based on overall district population. And it sets the levy amount that funds overall community education, as well as specific programs, youth enrichment, preschool screening, youth services. So it's an important process as we set that levy for the levy authority that the district has related to community education. And that number, in conversation with Director McKinnon today, would be at 49,918. A recent update to that number from the state demographer's website. So the administration would recommend that we set the district resident population at 49,918 for levy purpose. The administration recommends approval.
We have a motion to approve the resolution to certify school district population as presented.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Member Ebeline?
One question, Dr. Massey, where did you say this number came from, the 49,918?
It comes from the state demographer's website.
And then we approve it here, we certify it here, and then we get it back?
Yeah, it's a bit strange, and Director McKinnon and I were talking about that. It's an updated service, frankly, provided by the state demographer. So in the past, we had to analyze and get that number from a lot of different jurisdictions, counties, and so on. Now the state is providing it. We even had a conversation whether or not we actually need to certify, because it's going to be determined off of that anyway. But until we get further direction and clarification, we don't want to miss the opportunity to certify that number. So
Hence my confusion here.
Right.
It's antiquated, so.
That's fair. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We could certify a higher number, but it doesn't make much sense to do that. It is say that that's part of the board process is to certify a number. If we felt like their number and our number did not, we could certify it and then submit that back. But I don't feel that their number is off. I mean, you know, what the exact population is, but I would agree with what they asked. So it's more of the showing an agreement that we're on the same.
Thank you.
And they'll adjust it accordingly based on that.
Any further questions or discussion on A2? Member Clerk, would you please take a roll call?
Sure. Member Tyson votes aye. Member Madeline?
Aye.
Member Corcoran? Aye. Member Haywood?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
And Member Christensen?
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to A3, salary deferral program policy 307. Dr. Massey.
Employees are limited to using no more than 2 of the district's approved annuity companies at any one time. Administration is recommending your approval with the changes noted in the document that you have in front of you. I would just point out that in the definition part and the summary part of this policy, the added sentence, the school district director of business services will select vendors to provide salary deferral options to employees. Contributions by employer and employee are limited to vendors on the approved district list. And that's following state guidelines on how those need to operate. And then we're updating language, moving from language around annuity to salary deferral. Administration recommends approval with those changes.
I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the salary deferral program as presented. Do we have discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We will move to 8.4, Title IX, Sex Non-Discrimination Policy, Grievance Procedures, and Process Policy 510. Dr. Massey.
The school district does not discriminate on the basis of sex in its education programs or activities, and it is required by Title IX of the Education Amendments Act of 1972 and its implementing regulations not to discriminate in such manner. The requirement not to discriminate in its education program or activity extends to admission and employment. The school district is committed to maintaining an education and work environment that is free from discrimination based on sex, including sexual harassment. The only changes that you'll see throughout this policy will be referencing and references to U.S. code and state statute. With those changes, the administration recommends approval.
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving A4 signify by the sign aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. No nays. Motion passes. And we'll move on to 8.5, community use of school district facilities and equipment policy 701. Dr. Massey.
As you can see from all the pool activities and all the activity throughout the district, use of our facilities is extensive. So this policy is really important for us. And the purpose of this policy is to provide guidelines for community use of school district facilities and equipment. The district is committed to make available the use of school facilities to all citizens of the district. School district facilities rules and regulations under this policy shall apply to all property owned and maintained by the school district and shall be in effect at all times when the school property is not in use for a regular educational program. And we've updated the language to provide greater clarity to the users of our different facilities. I would point out the added language under section 5, subsection C, where we're providing language around group prioritization so that we're clear about who has priority to reserve space that is in high demand. Added language under subsection E in the same section that asking those using our facilities to disclose their intent and nature of their use so that we're clear about how our space is being used. From previous policies, updating language here to rules and guidelines, including now the edible products contained around CBEs. Storage, use of our storage facilities as it relates to activities. Language around any advertising or event marketing that they comply with district requirements and that they disclose their intent to, how they intend to market. And then language around OSHA. And with those changes, administration recommends approval.
Move to approve 8.5.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion.
Policy is obviously something I'm pretty invested in myself, and it's an ongoing effort. It's something that requires constant review and work. And I'd just like to thank Director McKinnon for all the work he put into this one. I'm sure it won't be perfect. He'll have things tomorrow that he'll want to change, but such significant strides were made with this specific revision. It just shows how responsive the community ed department has been with really kind of analyzing the use of our facilities, understanding what confusions just come up and making sure that that's clear with the public so we can have that responsible use of our facilities and we can be available to the public. And I think the changes that we see in this policy are really respectful of that. And we had a lot of really good discussion in the policy committee about this one. I think it turned out really, really good, and we'll probably readdress it next year as things pop up. But yeah, with that, I would urge everyone here to support this change.
Well, I really like the fact that there's a group priority listed here. That I don't remember in the past, so if it was added. It is, I know that there's, over the years, I was involved in basketball a lot, and there was always a little like who takes priority over, other groups and things like that. I think it's really clear and concise, so there's no problems with that, because that was kind of an issue in the day. So, and I like that it's local and people in the community first over people outside the community. I like that too. I think it's a really good, policy and a lot more clear and not as much trouble with questioning. So thank you. This is a lot of work went into this one.
Member Tyson?
Well, and I concur with both numbers, but I want to thank Director McKinnon because this policy's come a long way and it just gets better every time it's kind of reviewed by the committee and then the director is on it with things that we need to enhance. So good work to the policy committee and to the community ed director.
Any other discussion? I would echo that, and I remember a few years ago when we revamped this and how controversial it was. So I appreciate all the work that's gone into it, because it's only maybe 5 years that we started almost from scratch with a new policy. So, yeah, thank you for all your work on that. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving 8.5, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it, motion passes. We will move to 8.6, award medical self-insured employee group insurance, Director Remberg, ID.
Superintendent. Tonight, the Health Insurance Transparency Act requires us to go out to bid for our medical insurance every 24 months. That happened this spring, which we've talked a lot about and set the premiums last time. Tonight, we're just doing the formal awarding of the bids. So we had 5 providers that were contacted. One of them returned a bid, and that was United Health Group. And the proposal was presented to the Benefits Committee and Finance Committee May 18th. And so tonight, we're just doing the last step in this process and awarding the bid to United Health Group.
Any questions for Director Remberg, ID?
What do you feel was the reason that there was only one bid?
Yeah, so we do get letters that let us know why. So 2 of the companies felt that they were not competitive, and then the 2 others felt that they could not do all the programs that we offer. So we talked last time about a lot of our cost reduction strategies, and so they were not able to implement those programs within their agencies. So, yep.
Any other questions? With that, I'd entertain a motion to approve 8.6.
Second.
A motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, Member Clerk, would you please take a roll call?
Sure. Member Christensen. Aye. Member Tyson, both sides. Member Raveline.
Aye.
Member Corcoran. Aye. Member Hagelin.
Aye.
Member Peterson.
Aye.
Member Rayfield.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on to 8.7, award milk bid 23-24. Director Remberg, ID.
Perfect. Earlier this spring, you authorized us to go out to bid for the milks. And so for the next school year, and we did published notifications April 6th and 13th. We did have 3 proposals submitted for the milk bids. They were attached in the packet. And so we did have one of our bids be what's called non-conforming. So our current vendor, Prairie Farms, was a non-conforming bid. They did not meet our requirements for delivery twice per week at each one of our sites, and they also were unwilling to purchase back unused milk when we get to break times. And so they're considered non-conforming and taken out of the mix. And so that left us with Hastings Creamery as the lowest bidder. And so we would recommend Hastings Creamery be approved tonight.
We have a motion to approve 8.7 as presented.
So moved.
Second. Motion and second. Discussion. Member Tyson.
So this is a brand new vendor, right?
Yep, it is. Yep.
It's not who we have.
It is not. Yeah, Prairie Farms is who we've had, and we'll go with Hastings Creamery. We do have some experience with some of our employees with them, so we're very confident in their ability to serve us.
And that's interesting that you mentioned that they're non-conforming our previous. Were they always non-conforming?
So they've really struggled this year to meet the requirements of our delivery and everything, so that's, yeah.
Just this year then. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I guess I'm just surprised that Hastings is so far away. So that's my only question. It's like.
So they deliver all the way up to Pine City.
So they do travel this area, so, okay.
Yep.
that makes more
They're
sense.
going right up their So, yeah.
Nope.
Nope, they go all the way up to Pine City.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Member Clerk, would you please take a roll call?
Member Rayfield.
Aye.
Member Christensen. Aye. Member Tyson, both sides. Member Raveline.
Aye.
Member Corcoran.
Aye.
Member Hagelin.
Aye.
And Member Peterson.
Aye.
Ayes.
All ayes, motion passes. passes. We'll move to 8A, approve the 22-24 mechanics agreement. Dr. Massey.
We're happy to bring this agreement to the board for your approval tonight. Just by way of some background information, you might think that the mechanics would bargain with the bus drivers. They're a separate bargaining group, hence a separate bargaining or agreement for the mechanics. I'm looking at Director Member ID. 4 members of this group currently. So it's a relatively small group. The changes that you'll see here are consistent with the changes for the other classified groups, with an increase in family medical of $50 per month. Single is covered fully for this group. So the changes that you've seen in single coverage is not relevant here that you've seen in the other groups, but the dependent coverage is consistent. And then the increases in wages that you see here are also consistent on a percentage basis that we saw with the other groups. The other change I would point out on page 26 is a $25 increase in tool allowance and a $25 increase in footwear allowance for the mechanics. With those changes, administration recommends approval.
Move to approve.
A motion and a second for the 8A, approve the 22-24 mechanics agreement. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, Member Clerk, would you please take a roll call?
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Christensen?
Aye.
Member Tyson votes aye. Member Rayline?
Aye.
Member Corcoran?
Aye.
And Member Hageman?
Aye.
All ayes, motion passes. We'll move to 8-9, approve the 23-24 budget. Director Member Heidi.
Again, so tonight, we started our budget process way back in December. And so we know that the legislative session was just kicking off in January. And so when we started, we looked to have a budget that was balanced. In the general fund, we also looked at what we anticipated was a 3% increase. We knew there was some compensatory revenue that was coming in. We also knew we did see some increase in our levy area due to some LTFM projects. And so with that, tonight, what we're doing is we're asking you to accept a base budget. So next June 15th, we're going to have our work study session where we're going to talk about what our vision is and how we're looking to move forward with legislative changes and what funds might become available for them, what funds are tied up in mandates that we talked about tonight and other parts of the slides that you saw. So that's going to be the main bulk of when we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the budget and talk about a lot of that stuff. But again, we have to have a base in place in order to start rolling forward with our next fiscal year. And so that's the purpose of tonight. As I said, we started that process in December. We had extended at council meetings up to about 3.5 hours talking about staffing for the 3 months that we worked with principals on it. We did right sizing within that. We've talked to the finance committee on a monthly basis and presented this information since that January timeframe. And so again, what we look at is in the budget in front of you, we have our general fund budget as balanced at $84,100,000. Food service, we did see an increase in that area, again, due to the free meals, and so they're making adjustments as needed in food service. We do see that they anticipate to pretty much break even and put a little tiny bit towards their fund balance. Community ed is the next one. You'll see that in that area, they do plan to deficit spend. They have a great fund balance, right about where we want to see it, a little bit high, so they're going to spend down on some early childhood investments, which again feeds right into our programming. It's huge to have that ability to grab students early, get them into the system, especially with the competition that we have here in Forest Lake. Construction, we know that we're going to spend down our funds with the ice arena at the end of this year, and so we'll be talking about that in the study session also, though, is what we're looking for in the future for that construction fund. And then debt service, again, how we're going to pay our debt service through the levy process. So that one, we see a little bit of an adjustment that was needed to make up from a previous year. So we see that in there, and again, that was approved through the levy process. And OPEB, same thing, approved through the levy process. So overall, we have our overall budget of $105.6 million. So, and with that, we would ask for approval tonight. And again, we'll be digging deep on the study session on the 15th.
Move to approve 8-9. Second.
A motion and a second for 8-9, discussion. Member Hagelin?
Couple of questions. So you're saying this is the base budget, so when we have our session on the 15th, this can adjust up or down, correct? So this is not the final budget.
Correct.
So with that, a couple of questions. How much of the general fund is going to, where do you project the general fund to be at the end of 24 then? Because as we've talked, we're under $1 million now. Superintendent talked last meeting that we need to start building that back up. Where do you anticipate that being by the end of 24?
So we'll talk about that because that's part of the conversation that we need to have. Where's the board comfortable with having it? What, right now, no, because when we created the budget, unfortunately, with only a 3% increase, we weren't able to put anything towards fund balance. So again, what we need to do is use the funds that are given to us to do that and figure out what that number is. Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, which is why we scheduled the work session for the mid-month meeting so that we can dig into those very issues.
So what is the purpose of the base budget? Really, where does that take you from? What's your next
So
step?
it's timeline-wise, especially this legislative session with so many different changes, we're not going to be able to in 2 weeks turn around every number that we want in all the mandates because we're still learning from MDE what those all mean. So creating this base budget, which is actually what's done every year. We know we have adjustments in November. We know we have adjustments in this time of year. And so we always first create a base budget that just has the basics in it, and then we say what happened past that. So it's very consistent with past practice. This year, the money's just a little bit different in what we ended up being able to bring in from the legislature.
So you're going and knowing that this is not going to set here, it's going to change.
And as I said, you can go back every year and you'll see those adjustments being made throughout the year, every school year for the last at least 5 that I've been here.
To expand on that a little bit, this is essentially just to satisfy the June 30th requirement. And it gives you enough time to meet that requirement as opposed to deferring this to the June 15th meeting.
Correct. Yep. And also, yep, we're going to be starting spending and everything because we have to, start to pay for things, conferences, other things that are in the next fiscal year and everything. So we want to make sure to get going on all of that.
Okay, yeah, because like member Hagelin, I want to put words in his mouth, but I think he was kind of alluding to this. This seems awful thin to approve.
Yeah.
And it brings up my concern is I don't see any contribution to the fund balance.
Correct. It's, yep. And as I said, very consistent with years past in the concept of always making adjustments based on enrollment, based on legislation, based on everything that we know over the summer. So, yep.
Wonderful, yeah, and I absolutely support doing what we can to stay within statutory requirements whenever possible. So, thank you for that clarification.
Of course.
Any further discussion? All right.
Yeah, I would just say that I think Superintendent, when you were talking earlier, you said that oftentimes they don't finish session on time. I don't think they've finished session on time. When? This is the first year in years, and so oftentimes we have no clue the money coming in far into June. And yeah, so we've got these techniques in place.
And I would just reiterate that I didn't provide an overall dollar amount, although you've seen that from me in previous information. But overall new money is going to be around 6.2 million new money over the next biennium. And that is double what we typically get from the legislature. So when we talk fund balance, parameters for licensed staff, other commitments or needs that we've identified that we will work our way through on our way to June 15th. And then the work session around vision, priority, aspirations that the board has for where we go long term. These dollars play a role. So we've got the framework of the budget hopefully approved here tonight. We will then start building in some of these visions and goals and aspirations as we move into the next 2 years and frankly, beyond that.
You said the 6, but just, does that include the mandates too? The money, that 6 million? Or not?
Well,
or is that, including all the other, like?
No, but that's part of the balancing and the calculus that we need to make is what are
mandated costs, and we're still trying to get rules and interpretation on what exactly all those mean, and we will have better answers or more answers by the 15th, but probably we'll still have some of that uncertain.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the budget as presented in 8-9 signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, myself, just too late. Member Clerk, would you please do a roll call on 8-9?
Yes, Member Hagan?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Mayfield?
Aye.
Member Christensen?
Aye.
Member Tyson votes aye. Member Mittelline?
Aye.
And Member Corcoran? Aye. All ayes.
All ayes, 8-9 passes. That was a very Minnesotan poll. Everybody caught that. We will move to 8-10, the Juneteenth holiday. Dr. Massey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Acknowledging and if not even apologizing for the hasty arrival on the agenda on this topic, but we got very late update from MDE and MSBA on this piece just in the last couple of days, and feeling the need to take action on this promptly makes a lot of sense given how quickly this date's coming upon us. The legislature, as you know, officially adopted Juneteenth as a state holiday this past legislative session. We received communication from MSBA and MDE pertaining to Juneteenth, which is June 19th. The guidance from these two agencies is that districts should treat Juneteenth as a holiday on which no official school business should take place, including summer school, community education activities, or office work at school sites or other district locations. Specifically, the guidance is to treat Juneteenth in the same way that July 4th is treated with respect to being a named holiday during which the system is essentially closed. Currently, June 19th is not a summer school day. We knew that that day was Juneteenth. So we didn't schedule summer school, but our buildings were scheduled to be open on that day. But with this guidance, the administration recommends that Juneteenth, and again, June 19th, be officially recognized in 2023, this current year, as a paid holiday, and then we would ask that you would direct administration to add Juneteenth into the 12-month employee contracts for subsequent years through the bargaining process. So, not asking for a commitment from the board long-term, but approval to identify this upcoming June 19th as an officially recognized paid holiday, and essentially direct administration to address this issue through collective bargaining moving forward.
Move to approve 8-10. Second.
Motion and a second, discussion.
Actually, I just have one comment. It's somewhat related to this. Later in the agenda here, it notes that we have a school board meeting on Juneteenth. I just want to point out that's a typo. It's June 15th.
Thank you.
Because June 19th is also the date that we can no longer do business as a board. So I just thought we should point that out.
Any further discussion? Member Clerk, would you please take a roll call?
Member Corcoran?
Aye.
Member Hagan?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Mayfield?
Aye.
Member Christensen?
Aye.
Member Tyson votes aye. Member Mittelline?
Aye.
All ayes.
All ayes, 8-10 passes. We'll move to new business. 9-1, first reading, interviews of students by outside agencies, policy 504. Dr. Massey.
As new business, no action is recommended tonight. The purpose of this policy is to establish the procedures for access to students by authorized individuals during the school day. I would point out, in addition to some reference updates and references to statute, item C under section 2 states students shall, this is new language, students shall not be taken from the school district property by law enforcement or by a local welfare agency without the consent of the principal or designee and without proper warrant, court order, or other permissible authorization. That actually updates language that's stated earlier in the policy that you'll see stricken from the policy.
Move to approve.
No, we're on first reading on this.
Oh, I move to approve it.
All right, so seeing as that's the first reading, I'd remind everyone to review the upcoming calendar dates. And Joey, can I ask you to send us an email on the events that are left for the year? That would be awesome. And with that, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.